Hello everybody, it's your boy N here. I'm coming at you guys with another YouTube video. So in today's video, we're going to make the Deus Ex Manus sword. I'll give you the build and I'll give you my thoughts on it. Swords are in a bit of a interesting place, so let's have a look at it. Starting off, let's go over the cores and the substats. For this orange core, you will want to go with melee weapon attack. For the blue core, you would want to go with the element that is already on the sword. So in this instance, we're going to be going with chill. Now, this sword has some pretty staggering stats. It has 50% crit rate as a base. To basically push this all the way to basically max, we're going to go with 1 crit rate on the red module, or red core, sorry, and then we're going to go with 2 crit damages. This will basically boost the damage a lot. For the substats, again, same thing, crit rate, crit damage, element, and more damage for the actual module. So we're going to be going with that on this sword. If I call the sword the Deus Ex Machina throughout the video, forgive me, I'm used to it. But let's talk about modding on this sword. Now, for this sword, we're going to go, well, fairly simple. We're going to start off with some attack speed. Attack speed is always going to be pleasant on a sword because we want to make this sword actually kick. Other than that, we're going to go with better insight to make that crit rate go all the way up, as well as better concentration for more crit damage. If we're focusing on crit more, we're also going to add in Swords Dance for more crit rate as well as more attack speed, so this is also going to be another welcome module, and then Lethal Swing to add more crit damage on top of that, as well as a little bit more range to the weapon. So we're going in with plenty of range / damage so far. Next up, we're going to increase the range even more with increased range. This will allow us to slice or hit more mobs, and then we're going to use Keen Edge as well for more damage and more crit rate. Next up, we're going to go with our double modules, so double elements. So we're going to go with 2 chill modules on here, and then we are also going to go with a module that is kind of a bit of a mixed bag. We're going to go with general rounds improvement. Now, this sword still does use ammo, unfortunately, and this sword is essentially going to allow you to, well, you know, hit a lot of crits, because this is a much more crit based sword. In terms of the actual setup and everything, you will end up with, I believe, around about, it says 70 crit rate but 85 over here. Now when I've been using this, it's basically been nothing but crits anyways. The way I will quickly show you this sword is going to be Axion as well as dungeons. So I'll quickly show you how this sword fares inside of Axion, and then I'm also going to show you how it fares inside of a dungeon. It's a bit of an interesting story, to be honest with you, because despite it having 85 crit rate, I don't want to put a second core on 4 crit rate to make it 100. 85, even in my instance or in my testing, was in fact enough to basically just go all in. Another thing, major complaint with the swords, as you can see with the weapon, with the Peacemaker, I can melee flick to maintain my momentum. With the sword, you can just, you know, not do this. You just have to go in with that and then it just turns into a grapple. I think that this is not good at all. Sacrificing movement on weapons that should technically make your movement a million times better is definitely not the right play. I'm definitely using my wrong build over here because I'm using my speedrunning build in Axion instead of my crit one. However, that shouldn't stop us from being able to go in with the swords. If we start by going in on this thing, you can see here, we basically absolutely annihilate the mobs. We definitely annihilate the mobs. The crits on here are basically there. The sword is definitely capable. So if it's so good at destroying mobs, then why am I not a fan? I'll talk about it. So you can see here, just in general, when it does come to killing mobs and stuff like that, this sword is more than capable. You can see whenever anyone gets close, they just get one-shotted. It's definitely a capable sword for the most part. Ammo on here, again, isn't really that much of a problem. When it comes to this specifically though, I just can't get behind a sword that essentially forces you to sacrifice your movement. Same thing over here, and even its unique ability Slam will do millions of damage. It's a good damaging sword. Ignore the fact that I'm dying, my build is basically trash, but it's good. It can destroy mobs, shred average trash anyways. So let me show you what this performs like in a dungeon, because you can see in Axion, when it comes to mobbing, it's fine. However, when it comes to mobbing, are you really going to stop and even be able to get in a swipe on a sword when you've got a bunny in the lobby, or a Freyna, or an Ace, or a Serena? I don't think the swords are bad in terms of what they could be. There's definitely potential for the swords to be useful. However, the swords again are just victim to something called falling flat on their face. They should absolutely be maximizing movement for you and making you have like more speed. If anything, when equipping the swords, you should be able to reach the soft speed cap anyways. The Descendants should definitely be able to reach 1440 if they are not Bunny. Bunny reaches 1600 anyways, but it should give you a movement speed buff as well and stuff like that. Even if you level up the fusions on the sword, it doesn't overall help the damage, it just helps the unique ability, which in this instance for the Deus, it's the smash on the sword. Again, just really not going to help very much. Even when running around, I can't even say I'd like to run around with my sword because I can't melee grapple with that, so that technically slows me down again. When it comes to using and maximizing movement with basically any Descendant, you don't really want to be using these swords either, because if I wanted to speed up like that, I can melee grapple and flick that way. So, you know, it's definitely not in the brightest of places. And even with this, when a Descendant is going as crazy as Bunny can go with skills, there is very little reason to even bother using swords. If anything, you could justify it as being a boss killer, right? If the swords are good at killing bosses, then we could kind of let them get away and say they've got their own niche in killing bosses, right? So let's see whether that niche exists, because I'm fairly certain it doesn't. So I'm just running through Unknown Lab right now with Bunny, speedrunning it, I guess you could say. I'm just using my Peacemaker because, you know, I actually enjoy movement and stuff like that. So let's just run through this real quick. We're almost at the end now anyways, and I'll give you guys a quick rundown of how the swords perform in here anyways, because it's basically going to be exactly what you guys expect. In terms of swords, you'll basically get everything you were expecting. And not to say that the swords have absolutely no purpose, but realistically they were just kind of designed to sink your time. And if next on you are watching this, please buff the swords to the point where they're actually useful. I know that might actually be a challenge, but yeah, let's see how it goes. We'll focus on this boss over here first, and then that boss down there. Even with the swords, you can see here, takes several swipes to get that one down. If we use a unique ability on this one, even still, a back and forth, it takes you several hits to even bother with the sword, which again is not too bad, and the sword can definitely do its damage. But using a sword like this in this scenario is, well, let's be honest, not worth it. And I've ran out of ammo. Amazing. Amazing. And not to say that everything that I did there was correct, because let's just blame half of it on human error, but you can't justify and tell me that that is 100% worth it, especially when I could just be doing this with an electric condense and literally one-shot everything. There is so little reason to actually use these swords, it's ridiculous. And just the way that Bunny is as well, especially after how hard Bunny's been buffed, why would I bother using the sword in this exact setup? I know some people will argue and say use it with a skill-based Descendant, but if you can't just put the sword onto your setup and use it with anyone and make it work and make it worthwhile, then it's not worth it. If I have to use a skill Descendant and then basically rework my tree into being a melee tree or a firearm tree just for the swords, it's still not worth it, because you can't just add it onto every Descendant. Does work. I'd use it with absolutely nobody personally, because how ridiculous the movement stance is, but that's just me. Hope you guys have enjoyed. If you did, please just smash that like button. If you're new here, please do consider subscribing. I make plenty of videos on the first Descendant, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.